Now we have got to run to God for our desperate need to be heard and to be held. Job is at the lowest point of his journey. He cries out to God, which is, of course, what we need to do. And the most beautiful triumph happens in this tragic moment, because this is when you get the verse that most people remember from Job. Job says, I wish that my words were written down, verse 23, that they were recorded on a scroll or were inscribed in stone forever by an iron stylus and lead. But I know my Redeemer lives. He's just said, I can't take this anymore. I'm at the very end of my rope, but I know that my Redeemer lives, and in the end he will stand on the dust, even after my skin has been destroyed. Yet I will see God in my flesh. I will see him myself, and my eyes will look at him, and not as a stranger. My heart longs within me. This is such an interesting verse because it is inspirational, but it's actually deeper than it is inspirational. Because the word that Job uses here for Redeemer is the Hebrew word goel. It's the word that you see throughout the Old Testament when you read kinsman redeemer. You probably remember that in this culture, a kinsman redeemer would be somebody from your realm of family relationships. It could be a distant cousin, but a kinsman redeemer is someone who would rescue you if you had gotten yourself in trouble. That could be really serious trouble, like you were facing a death sentence for a crime that you were guilty of, or it could be just a minor issue. Like maybe you'd gotten yourself in debt. You'd run your Target card too high. And a kinsman redeemer could relieve you from your debt. He could pay off your debt. He could stand in the gap between you and a judge who is going to find you guilty of a serious crime. Or as in the case of Ruth, he could marry a widow, thereby redeeming her childlessness and her husband's lineage. That's what Boaz did was with Ruth. That's what that word goel means. It's a redeemer. It's somebody who comes to rescue you. What's so interesting about Job's use of redeemer here in chapter 19 is he says, I want a redeemer, a goel, someone to rescue me from my accuser. Who has he named as his accuser? God. Goel, God. He said, this is my accuser. I need a goel, a redeemer, to stand in the gap between me and God, my accuser. Sounds like he's been smoking something medicinal, doesn't it? I mean, that's crazy talk. How can you have a redeemer to stand in the gap between you and your redeemer? It would be like me saying, Jenny, I need you to rescue me because you have been bullying me. So I need you to beat yourself up, to stand in the gap between me and you. You can't be both hero and an accuser, can you? Unless you're Trinitarian God. Unless you're God the Father and God the Son. Because God the Father wears the black robe of divine judge. And Christ the Son shrugged into the orange jumpsuit meant for you and I. And he stood in the gap between us and Father God. And he took the punishment that was meant for us. Again, remember, this was written at least 1,000 years before the birth and perfect life and death and resurrection of Jesus. And yet, because the veil was thinner in his pain, Job was able to say, God, I know you will be my goel, who stands in the gap between me and goel. You will come and be my hero. You will rescue me.